Back here on the Bobcast, Field of Dennis with Coach DeLane Fitzgerald. Coach, let's start things off here. What are your overall thoughts on your team's performance last Saturday?
My overall thoughts is that we're really, really persistent. Not as consistent as we'd like to be, but we're persistent. The young men play the next play, and we play the next play no matter what happened to us on the last play, whether it be a positive play or a negative play. We line up and give the best that we've got on the following play. It's really, really good to see and nice to be a part of. My overall feeling, Fielder, is this. I am extremely happy for the young men in our football program for all the hard work that they put in over the past year to get to that point that we got to on Saturday. And then I'm happy for our university. When you win a game like that, number 5 versus number 6, and in an atmosphere like that where ruckus crowd and the place is packed, it is a great thing for our university. It's a great thing for the young men in this football program. It's a great thing for our alumni base. It was fun to see a lot of our alumni back there on Saturday. It was really fun to see our seniors from the last 3 or 4 years that we had coached there and see how much they enjoyed the victory also.
Coach, when you beat the number 6 team in the nation, it takes a lot of things to go your way. And one of the stats that jumps out from the game against Wesley, 5 turnovers. You guys forced 5 turnovers. Was that a point of emphasis to force turnovers against an offense like Wesley?
Yeah, we had 4 things we were working on last week, and one of them was winning a turnover battle. And the 4 things were this: we had to be more physical than they were, which we were. We had to play faster than they did, which I'm not sure we did. We didn't play as fast as we're capable of playing on Saturday, but that was one of our goals. Win the turnover battle was the 3rd goal, and then the 4th goal was win on special teams.
Coach, falling behind early, 14-0. What was the message to the team facing a deficit, though being early in the game?
Play the next play. Relax and play the next play. We had we were a little tighter than we should have been in big games. We seemed to play a little tighter than we should early on, and then we loosen up and we're ourselves after that. But we knew we were okay, and we knew we were going to get back in the football game, and we knew it wasn't over at 14-0. So we just played the next play, and if you continue to play the next play, it all leads to a good thing at the end.
Do you think the early game tightness comes from maybe the kind of funky schedule at the beginning of the season, not getting consistent routine week in, week out?
No, it comes from having a bad head coach. It probably puts too much pressure on them during the week. I probably put too much pressure on them and say too many things to them, and in an effort to motivate them for Saturday, I probably made them a little bit tighter than I should have.
In your opinion, what was the turning point of the game?
Great question. There were so many turning points in that game. The league changed hands every 3.5 to 5 minutes in the second quarter and the fourth quarter, so the league kept going back and forth. Turning point in that football game. When our offense realized that we could just line up and run right over top of them. And on a day when we run 90-some offensive plays, which is unheard of, we ran 93 offensive plays, and we ran the football 69 times, which again is unheard of, for 290-some yards. You sit and do the math on that, and that's what it's not a huge average that we were running for on Saturday. We just lined up and went 4 yards right over top of them, 5 yards right over top of them, 6 yards right over top of them. A phenomenal job by our offensive line, our tight ends and our fullbacks, the way they played on Saturday and the mentality that they played with. But you asked me what the turning point was, and about midway through the first quarter when we realized that we were just stronger and more physical than they were, and we were going to impose our physicality on them.
Coach, you spoke about the blockers up front, and I want to talk about Jamal Morant. It seems like throughout his career he's shown up in the big games, had 163 yards rushing, and he did so again this past Saturday. Is he just one of those guys that just thrives under pressure in the big games?
Jamal is a warrior. If you're going to war, you would like Jamal to be on your side. You don't want to fight against him. But he is pound for pound and inch for inch as good a running back as has ever played at this university. He is a good football player. And he won't like me saying this, but I've always told y'all the truth on here, so let's let it be known. Jamal doesn't show up to camp in the best of shape. He enjoys his summers and enjoys being home in Baltimore and all that, and it takes us a month or 2 to get him into shape. But you look back at his career, around about game 3 or 4 each year, he breaks out with a huge game, and then it's Katie bar the door for the rest of the year after that. And Jamal's played himself back into shape, and everybody on our schedule from here on out has to look out.
Looking at the aerial side of the game, only 130 yards passing, but 2 touchdowns. Seems like quality over quantity was the name of the game through the air. Is that fair to say?
Only 130 yards. What was the completion percentage?
I'm not entirely sure. I don't have it right here, but
Okay. I think Connor threw for 66% on Saturday, and that there is what matters to me. Let's don't throw incompletions. Let's don't have a ball bouncing around on the ground. Let's don't put it on the ground in pass plays or run plays. Let's don't fumble it either, but I don't want the ball bouncing around on the ground. As long as he's throwing for, as long as Connor in our pass game, as long as we're throwing for a high percentage, we're going to be successful at the end of the day.
And like you said, you were running the ball so well, that opens up play action, other avenues for Connor to make plays. That's, that affects the completion percentage and the 2 touchdowns. Looking at the other side of the ball, Zach Strand had another day at the office, 3 tackles for loss and a sack. What can you say about his impact in Jack play?
Yeah, Zach Strand, great football player. Great football player, great young man. I told y'all a month ago, really, really fun to be around. And the term's used way too much, but if I had a son, you'd want him to be like that young man. You'd want him to act like Zach and handle his business like Zach and enjoy life like Zach enjoys life, because there's more than one occasion since Zach's been here in his 2 years here that I've been in a bad mood, and you just hang around him for about 5 minutes. You don't have any choice but to laugh and smile. Zach brings a workman-like attitude to our defense and our defensive line and blue collar when he gets out on the football field, and Zach's going to make plays. If he's out there 50 or 60 plays on defense, he's going to make 10 or 15 plays, and good for us. We're happy to have him, and Coach Mayer recruiting him to this university. Great job by him also.
One of the turnovers in the game was from the Delaware native Aku. How big was it for him to get a turnover against a team in his home state?
Yeah, when you talk to the news reporters and stuff after the game on Saturday, according to them, we only have one player in our whole football program. Yeah, the other 122 guys are irrelevant. Duron Acko. So they put microphones in my face and wanted to ask me about Duron Acko, and I was like, do we have anybody on our team by that name? They said, yeah, Coach, number 41, that freshman linebacker. I said, okay. Yeah, he's a good player. I'm joking. I know exactly who Duron is. Duron's done a nice job for us since he's been here. A good character kid, and has done a nice job of learning our defense as a freshman, and he's contributing. So he's not a star player yet, but he's got a chance to be down the road.
Just adds that depth at the linebacker position. Looking towards this week, you have a team in William Patterson who is still looking for their first win of the season. How do you get the team refocused for this week after a big win?
Yeah, it's a trap game. And the young men in our football program and our coaching staff and everyone else have to keep their eye on the prize. And the prize is Saturday's game at 1 o'clock. I would tell you this, Fielder. I think our coaching staff and players are so excited about playing back-to-back Saturdays for the first time in 2018. I don't think we're going to lose focus, and I would expect us to play pretty well on offense, defense, and special teams this Saturday. The other thing is we're playing at home, and our coaching staff and players really, really like being in Bobcat Stadium. We like playing on this mountain, like playing in this town, so it should be a good one. We're not going to lose focus and overlook them. I'll promise you that.
I didn't want to use the term trap game, but I'm glad you recognize the situation. So
when you're ranked 5th in the country and the other team's lost 21 straight games, what else do you call it? It's a trap.
Absolutely. And Coach, just want to give you some credit. Last week you had some picks with Andy on the Bobcast. You went 3 for 3 in your selections. This week, not many big games, but one that of note, number 3 St. Thomas is at number 9 St. John's. Do you have a selection for us?
Yeah, Glenn Caruso is a very good friend of mine. Glenn Caruso is probably the best football coach in Division III football. The job he's done there at that university, they were 2-8 the year he took over. And we're talking over 10 years ago now, but they were 2-8 the year before he took over, and he went 7-3 in his first year, and he's had them in the playoffs most years after that, and 2 Stag Bowl appearances, national title appearances. Glenn Caruso and the Tommies are going to win that game on Saturday.
Coach, thank you for your prediction. Thanks for talking with us. Looking forward to this weekend.
Go Bobcats.
Back here on the Bobcast, Coach Kaitlin Thompson. Coach, what are your thoughts from this past week?
I thought that, defensively we kind of pulled it together during the Salisbury game. Sierra Smizer had a great game versus Salisbury. If she keeps this play up as we move forward into some of these other competition, then we're gonna be really set. So I was really impressed with her play and the overall defensive play against Salisbury. Like I said in our interviews, we just need to connect a little bit more on our passing, especially against Salisbury. I thought we did a pretty decent job of doing that at the beginning of the W&J game. We just needed we kind of lost it a little bit, and we have to find it again.
You spoke about Sierra Smizer had a really stellar performance. What was she doing that was just clicking in that game against Salisbury?
She was just playing with confidence, and I've always had such great confidence in her as a player, and I think she was trying to find it a little bit in herself, and she did against Salisbury, and I'm very proud of her for that, and I look forward to her keeping that up as we move forward.
The team came out with an aggressive approach early on Saturday. Is that something you emphasize going into the game?
Yeah, going into the game, we said we were not here to keep the score close. We were here to win the game. So, we truly and honestly believed that we could go out and win that game. Unfortunately, we didn't, but I thought, defensively we played very well against a very tough opponent in Salisbury.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the physical nature of the play early really led to the defense. I mean, the presence was felt on that back line defensively, so that was really important going into Saturday. Going to the other side of the ball, offensively, what does the offense need to do to force more penalty corners? She spoke about passing, but anything else in particular?
Yeah, I think that we just have to get the ball up there more, and that comes with the passing. We had our opportunities. We had some good outletting by the defense, but again, it just kind of fell apart in our midfield line. We would be kind of coming out of our defensive zone, and we would have one or two good passes, and then that last one just didn't connect. And Salisbury, being a great team, is going to take advantage of that and bring the ball back down to our defensive end. So we just have to clean that up a little bit, and the girls know that. Again, passing, is a strength of ours, so it's not that it's something that we don't possess. It's something that we do possess as a team, and we should be able to bring that together moving forward.
It seems like when you get the penalty corners, Karen Morrell does a great job playing it in, and there's always opportunities right there with Holly Van Wee, Ashley Myers are right there. It's just, it's a matter of execution. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think our attacking penalty corners are a strength of ours, and that is something that we do let the girls know as a coaching staff is we need to get up there and we need to take care of our opportunities when we're in our attacking zone and draw the corners or at least get a shot off. So we have to concentrate on doing that more because, again, we are so efficient in the attacking penalty corner unit. This
week you have Hood in the midweek. What do you want to see from the squad in the early week game?
Just that bringing that passing back together. Again, it's a strength of ours, and we need to start playing like it is a strength of ours. And I think that playing against Hood, it'll be a good opportunity for us to bring that back into our game before we move into two important CAC opponents coming up. So I think that, again, this Hood game should be a good way for us to kind of bring our offense back into the picture.
So it's like a tune-up game coming forward for the CAC. Looking at those CAC matchups, Mary Washington, St. Mary's, what should we expect to see from those teams?
I think playing at Mary Washington has always been pretty tough for us, but I believe in this team. I think that we have some good qualities about us that we haven't had in past teams. And, again, if we have the kind of performance that our defense and Smizer put out against Salisbury, I think that we put ourselves in a good position to win. I think that we stack up really well against St. Mary's. I think that being our senior game as well should be a game where we come out ready to play, ready to win. So I am very excited, particularly for the St. Mary's game as well, because I do think that that's a game where we can pick up a CAC win for sure.
Lastly, Coach, what do you want the message to be in your locker room going into these games?
Just play with the heart that we played in against Salisbury, and just pick up pick up the skill where we know we're already good, like our passing. So play with that heart always, but just pick up the skill in the places where we are strong, and it'll all come together.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck this week.
Thank you.
Back here on the Bobcast, Fielder Dennis with Coach Keith Byrnes. Coach, I'll start where we left on Saturday night. Big win against a quality CAC team in CNU. What did you like about how your team played?
I thought we had intensity for a good portion, almost quite 90 minutes. A little bit in the beginning of the second half, I thought they started to kind of put us on the back foot a little bit. But then I thought we responded, especially after we had the goal called back. I think that kind of lit a little bit of a fire under them and got the energy back up. And I think that's what we needed to kind of, see the game out and keep, working hard to get the goal right at the end of the game. So it was, they knew they were in it, and it was just, we like we said, we bent, but we didn't break. And Joel was strong in goal. The backs were solid, and the offense was, playing better. Still not super dangerous, but dangerous enough that we created opportunities, and we capitalized on one right there at the end.
You talk about that goal being called back, and kind of throughout the entire game, you could see the confidence building from the players. Do you think that goal being called back was a real turning point for, the attacking players?
I think so, because, like I said, I think CNU came out and did a good job of putting us back on our heels, and probably got the first 5 or 6 shots off of the second half. None were real threatening, but it was, the ball was on our half of the field, and that was kind of our first offensive flurry going forward, and we happened to get a goal out of it. And by them calling it back, it definitely woke the guys up a little, got the energy going to then allow us to kind of hang with them for the rest of the game. And like I said, just finally found a way to win instead of finding a way to lose, and that was big for the guys, because they've been working hard, and being in a lot of close competitive games means nothing if you can't find a way to win a couple of them.
Andy spoke to you about it during the broadcast. There's a formation shift in the CNU game. It looked like there are more players around the ball at all times. Is that fair to say, moving to the 3-5-2?
Well, it definitely it eliminated some of the isolations we had in the 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, where a winger was maybe by himself or the forward was by himself. Hopefully with 3-5-2, we did have more options and the ability for guys to play off each other, and knowing that our offense has been, struggling a bit, and we're still trying to manufacture goals, we thought maybe this would be a little bit of a kickstart. But then, you sacrifice a little bit in the back, and, the back three have a lot more room to cover, and the wing backs have a lot of running up and down to do. So, it's still, we'll see where we take it. But for that game, it certainly worked. At least gave them the confidence that they thought they could at least get a goal in that type of match. So.
It seems like with this shift, there's a lot of young players in the midfield that are really just flying around. They don't know CNU's past in the game Saturday, and even more going forward. They're just playing good soccer, and then it's great to have guys like Basham and Getz and the three in the back with Rodriguez as well to kind of anchor it down. Is that what you're looking at? With those veteran players back there, and then the young guys to really move around the middle.
Well, yeah, if you look at that starting lineup of the day, there was 9 freshmen and sophomores, so basically nobody knew anything about anything.
Yeah.
And then, Bash and Blake, they've been the ones that have been there and been around for a little bit longer. But the young guys, sometimes they bring energy, and we need to match up with their athleticism. And guys like Camilo and Cam on the outside, is just, I don't know how you stop those guys. They just run forever until they actually just get gassed out. But they make it fun, so they bring that energy that we need. And yeah, it's nice not to always think about, we lost these guys 3 years in a row, because they haven't played them that many times. So for them, it's it was just a good team that they had to match up with to keep ourselves in the running here for the CAC.
Cameron Coates epitomizes flying around on the field. And another player that flies around, he came into the game as a substitute, was Willie Jefferson. He got the big assist from the Blake Getz goal to win the match. What can you say about his play this season?
Willie, he was huge. With the formation change, it kind of fits his play more. So we probably hadn't used him the last couple of games in the 4-3-3. But he's kind of that hybrid outside back / winger that he does fit the wing back position, because he is fast. He does like to attack, Sometimes we just need to work on what he's doing tactically. But I thought Saturday he was spot on. I mean, he was defending well. He was good on the ball. And then he obviously came right back in at the end when Camilo got tired and got himself into a position to be dangerous and put a ball to the far post, which is what we always ask because it gives our guys a chance to get on it. And it's usually how we score, either a set piece or a header. It seems like so. And Blake found his way to it. So it was fantastic to see Willie step up, and I think that also improves his confidence and the guys' confidence in him, especially because he hadn't been playing quite as much, I'm sure, as he would have liked to. But, it was, he made us look good, I guess, by, giving him his minutes because he earned it.
Coach, 2 CAC games this week. What are you looking for from your team in those matches?
I guess a little bit of the same. I mean, just the competitive fighting spirit. I mean, it doesn't get any easier. I mean, Mary Wash, obviously nationally ranked and I think undefeated, a couple of ties maybe, but they're the powerhouse right now. So luckily we have it at home. Maybe that keeps our energy up. And then I guess St. Mary's on the weekend. St. Mary's finished second last year, and I think they've only got 1 or 2 losses. So those are the teams that if we can steal points from, then I think it's huge for confidence. It puts us in a position that maybe we can be a top 4 team and get a home game rather than having to go on the road for all 3. But there's no real easy outs in the CAC this year. So you look at those scores and it's like everybody's in every game. So should be fun.
Coach, thank you for your time and good luck this weekend.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Back
here on the Bobcast, Fielder Dinch with Coach Becky Fletcher. First question, Coach, what were your thoughts on this past week?
We had a really good week. We went to Rowan. We played some tough teams. Took Rowan in 4. And they're really good. They're a really scrappy team. And I told my team during the match that they looked like they were playing like rabid cats. They were just so scrappy. They were everywhere. It was a lot of fun to coach. They had a lot of fun playing. They brought a lot of really good energy to the court, and it was fun to see them just play so aggressive.
My next question is, in the first match against Rowan, your team rallied after dropping the first set. What change did you see in the match? Would you attribute the energy maybe being a part of that?
Yeah, I think that, we lost a really close first set, and they knew that just 1 or 2 little changes would very much affect the whole match from there on out. So they went out and they got a little bit more aggressive serving. We served really well. I think we had 16 aces against Rowan, which is a lot. That's a lot. So we were really aggressive there, which gave us a lot of opportunities to get a lot of easier balls back from them for us defensively, and that meant that we were able to score some more points and get a lot of hitters involved.
A little bit of a general question here, but later in the Rowan quad, you took Eastern all the way to the final set, a real back-and-forth affair. What is it about getting that last set that's so difficult?
Oh, that last set is quick. So, 15 points doesn't allow for a lot of errors. Yep. Making sure that you're coming out and you're playing really aggressive and kind of doing the things that you have been working for you all match and not trying to go and rewrite the book right then and there. And I think that we got a little bit timid at the end of that match. We were up by a few and kind of were like, oh my goodness, we could win this game. And then kind of played a little bit more timidly instead of going out and being super aggressive, like we had been playing the match before we got to that point.
Do you think, a little bit of in the back of your head, knowing that you only have 15, you have to get to 15, is a little pressure build a little bit for players?
Yeah, I think the pressure builds. I think that in general, the idea is just to, try to get them to keep doing what you've been doing and what has been successful for you. And Eastern came out extremely aggressive in that last 5th set, and they're a very seasoned team who has not only a lot of experience, but they have a lot of experience in the NCAA tournament as well. So I don't think they were quite as frazzled as my younger girls were. I like to go to 5. I think it's good for us. I think it's good for our learning experience. I think it's good for us to learn that, hey, we're playing great teams and we're playing them really well. So that means that we have that ability to do that as well.
Speaking of young players, Haley Altimus has been all over the stat book this season. How has she adjusted to the collegiate game thus far?
Haley is super athletic. She's a lot of fun to coach. So a lot of things she does comes pretty easy to her. But she's coming along just fine. I think it's fun to see her play 6 rotations and be able to dig some balls in the back row and hit in the front row. She played a little bit of right side for us this weekend, and she was able to offer a really great block. She's a pretty versatile player, which is nice to have on our court.
It really jumps off the screen when you're watching her. Her versatility, athleticism. You'll see her get a dig, a block, a kill. She's kind of all over the place, and that's kind of nice to have. A Swiss Army knife, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. We really have 3 players that don't really come off the court a lot. Our setter, KDO, and Haley, and then our libero. So it's really nice to see those people when they have lots of different skills and can bring a lot to our table.
Looking at this week, you hit the road to Stevenson. What can we expect to see in that match?
Stevenson's going to be a tough match. They're traditionally a pretty fast offense. They always bring a lot of pace to everything they do offensively, not just at the net, but serving as well. So we can expect that. They're usually pretty loud and vocal as well, and their gym's usually a lot of fun to play in. For us, I like going there because so many of our girls are from that Baltimore, Northern Virginia area, and we tend to get a good fan base there as well. So for the parents, it's pretty easy for them to get there on a weekday match. Frostburg
travels well. As for the weekend, you host York and Pitt Bradford. What do you want to see from your team in that homestand?
York's a big conference match for us. We played them here last year, and we beat them in 5. It was a pretty crazy, exciting match. And I think that we need to bring it. We need to come. Everyone needs to be on. We need to make sure that we're serving well. We need to make sure that we're passing well. And we need to make sure we can get all of our hitters involved. And if we do that, I think we'll have a really successful day.
Coach, thanks for chatting with us, and good luck this week.
Thanks.
Back here on the Bobcast, Fielder Dennis with Coach Dale Louie. Coach, talk about how you felt your team did at the DeSales Invitational this past week.
We generally speaking, did a pretty nice job. It was probably our toughest competition since the first meet of the season. I think on the guys' side, they were like 5 of the 10 top region teams. Nationally ranked team in there. Some other teams getting some national votes. Women's side actually more stacked than the men's side. So it was a good place to compete. That's why we went there. Robbie had a very good race. On the men's side there, I think Tanner Jacobs, had a pretty nice day. Fisher Wheeler, freshman, looked a little bit more comfortable than he has in some recent meets. So that was a plus for us because we're certainly trying to continue to develop our depth there. And on the women's side, we had Sarah McCurry do a real nice job. She and Robbie both came very well. Actually, ran personal bests on that particular course. And then on the women's side, we also had Sidani Brown and Maddie Watson kind of working together the whole way, so that was something nice to see.
Coach, you kind of answered my second question here, but do you like going to these events with so many participants in it?
Well, I schedule-wise, we try to balance some things out.
Mm-hmm.
We've found through the years, if you just go to these massive meets over and over again, sometimes what starts to happen, and it's not just our runners, it's if you're back there and spot 150 out of 400 runners or so, you kind of lose sight of hey, I'm beating over half the field.
Yeah.
And there's a tendency, I think, sometimes to just kind of go with the flow, whatever that flow is, positive or negative there. And so we do try to mix it up, but certainly at some point, we need that experience of a large field. And in this case, the other advantage, of course, was that the regional meet will be, at the sales as well. So it gives our folks, another chance to get familiar with the course.
What does it do? And I agree with you. It does have an effect, but what does it do for your team mentally? You kind of spoke about how you lose sight of where you are, but seeing so many runners and like you're saying, you're reading the places, that's a little different from being, at the Bobcat Invitational, for a week previous.
Right. It kind of, can go different ways, honestly. You get in a smaller meet and sometimes runners don't perform very well because my perception is that some of them view that there's all of these eyes on them, whereas when they're in a big meet, their mindset is like, who even knows I'm running? I'm surrounded by 40, 50 people here.
It's almost like you're just another ant,
Right,
at the
right,
end. Yeah.
absolutely. Everybody's different, and that's the other reason you try to schedule some different kinds of meets so that, hopefully those individuals who have a weakness in a particular kind of situation get a little bit more comfortable with that situation, whatever it might be.
On the women's side, Sarah McCurry leading the way for them again. What can you say about how she's growing as the season is progressing?
Well, she's, in 3 years, she has literally worked herself into being a very competitive collegiate cross-country runner. And, not everybody can say that, so that's a real feather in her cap, so to speak. And I just see her continuing to get better because she's now, kind of like I mentioned earlier, she's now moved into situations where the pace is a little bit more intense. The people around her are a little bit more intense. And, she's had to make an adjustment to that. And she, quite honestly, has made a far more rapid adjustment to that than I would have, anticipated. So I see nothing but continued improvement on her side. And, that old cliche, I think the sky's the limit for her, really.
And on the men's side, you talked a little bit about Fisher Wheeler. Anybody else really jump out the page for you in the
Well,
race?
I thought Brady Dumonchel had a very nice race for us. He moved up into that top 7. I like the aggressiveness that he had for the entire race. As Brady well knows, I get on him sometimes about some of his inconsistencies. I thought he put together, a really nice, race there. We had a pack of, I think it was 5 people that finished within 23 seconds of each other, and that's outstanding. What we've said we need to do is get that pack closer to, Robbie and Braxton, and if we can do that. We're going to make some noise. We had, Colin Flynn was hurting a little bit and probably didn't have his A day. And I think you look at a couple of performances there Saturday, it would have been very easy for us to move up into the top 7. And to me, what's significant about that is that the team in front of us there, Juniata, has been getting some votes in regional rankings. So, bottom line is we can run with those top ranked teams. Our people need to believe in that and use that as motivation to keep working hard.
And I noticed at the home meet a week ago, they were all really just kind of bunched up together. The guys, they were finishing one after another, and it was just kind of a waves, if you will. And
yes.
Yeah, that's really cool to see.
Yeah, and that's the team aspect of cross country. So many people look at running as just an individual sport, and I think sometimes the NCAA does a disservice to some of these sports that they call individual sports or co-ed sports. It's understandable why they would use those terms, but the general public then tends to downgrade, I think, sometimes. In this case, what we're talking about, the team aspect of cross country. You need 5 people to score, and you can have 2 more people that can influence the scoring, and obviously the closer you can pack them together and the higher up that pack is, the better off you are. I had a championship team once that I think during the course of the whole year, I think we won 1 race. But then in that case, we had like 12 to 15 guys that took turns beating each other.
Yeah.
And the bottom line was some schools would get number 1 on us, number 2 maybe on us, and then we'd have like the next 10 runners and stuff. And we were actually undefeated because of that. The team aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. Headed this week, you're going to the Roaring Lions Invitational. What can folks expect to see on that course?
I don't know. We've never been there before, so it'll be a new course for us. I've been told by their coach that it's a typical Western Pennsylvania course, which is fine with us. We're very used to that. And I do think that will be another meet that should help us prepare for what we've been told the Southern Virginia course is going to look like for CACs. Competition-wise, we've seen a couple of schools already. I'm not really 100% sure who's all going to be competing there, but I do think it's going to be a mix of JUCOs, D3s, and some D2s thrown in. So that should be a nice mix for all of our runners to have somebody to compete against.
Well, Coach, looking forward to that this weekend, and good luck.
Thank you very much.
Back here on the Bobcast, Field of Dennis with Coach Brian Parker. Coach, we'll start off here. What do you like about what you saw from your team this past week?
Well, sometimes you take the good with the bad. I guess if you were going to say that we had a low point of the season so far in terms of just energy and quality, I guess you would have to probably put Catholic on the very short list Wednesday's game. They were physical and really kind of out-muscled us, and once they kind of got into the game physically, we didn't really respond very well. I would say it was a little bit of a setback traveling down there to play in that fashion, in that environment. But we've made changes. We've got a lot of new players showing themselves in the rotation for different reasons, and so there were certainly some good signs on Wednesday night as well. Saturday, of course, we played the most competitive game against the best team in our conference in a couple of years. So, to play CNU to a 1-goal game and have them, sort of killing the game and running out the clock at the end of the game is kind of a compliment, I think. If they're the best team in our conference and we can allow 2 goals and get 1, then if we get the rematch, I think we'll have maybe more confidence than we have had in the last couple of years. So I think the spirit of the team was awesome on Saturday. I think the response from Wednesday, was obviously, good and very gratifying. I think the players should be pretty proud of what we were able to accomplish on Saturday. But, the scoreboard matters in the end, and we're still not getting some of the results I think we would like to see.
Going back to Catholic, first-year keeper Stephanie Vigetzi got her first start of the season. And what can you talk about how she played in that match?
Very well. I mean, anyone can imagine how nervous she must have been being thrust into the lineup on very short notice. She's a good player. She's smart. I mean, she's got experience with her club and with her high school, and she's trained very hard. I think she was as prepared as any first-year keeper would have been in her situation. I think she handled it very well. I mean, I would have been shaking in my boots, I think, if I was in her situation. I was once as a player, as a first-year goalkeeper here at Frostburg when I played, and I know that it's hard to even control your heartbeat and your energy level. And she didn't show any signs of nervousness at all. She had a couple good handles early in the game, of course, that are nice to kind of get you into it and physically and I'm sure she'd love to have that first goal back. She did everything right on the first Catholic goal and sprinted off her line and snuffed out a one-on-one very nicely, and just somehow the ball just snuck through as she made contact with the striker. But it was the right thing to do, and she made a lot of good decisions. I think it was a bright spot, and it kind of reaffirms everyone's confidence that we have another goalkeeper here who can play at a pretty good level.
How important are these reps for her future going forward?
Well, great question. We only recruit one keeper at a time, and she's our current freshman keeper. We do have another keeper committed for next year, but she's just preparing herself, obviously, and increasing her stock, so to speak, her ability to compete for the starting job, and grow confidence in the staff, of course, and in her teammates. And so a huge step forward. Goalkeeping is very interesting. You only play one at a time, and you never know when you're going to get an opportunity that maybe you create through competition, or maybe that is created for you because something happens, and that was the case here, and I think it's going to pay dividends for her going forward for sure.
Moving to the weekend, you played a really good team in CNU, fell by a score of 2-1. But you spoke about how proud you were of your team in the post-game interview. What specifically did you like what you saw from your team?
Well, first of all, we had a very specific game plan to make some tweaks in our lineup and play a little bit of a different defensive style, and they responded really well. So sort of executing the game plan on pretty short preparation. Really, we only really discussed it for 2 days. But it wasn't unfamiliar to our returning players, from last year, some things we did. Last year, we were not good at it in the conference final when we tried to, play in a little bit of a lower pressure block. And I think the players responded very well to coaching and to what we were asking them to do, basically being a little more disciplined in their play. So that was awesome. I think when we allowed a goal, we allowed another goal almost right away. They executed well, but there's always mistakes on every goal, And so I think that our response to going down was also very good. I mean, you could say we won the second half, right? I mean, we scored a goal and they didn't in the second half, and statistically they were terrific, and they've got great players, and there's a lot of ways, of course, that they were better in terms of their possession and whatnot. But the fact that we got that second half goal and did not allow them another opportunity to score a really good one, I think was awesome. You always want to play better in the second half than the first if you have a choice, right? And to be down 2-0 at halftime and then come back and get a goal, I think was awesome. I was very happy with sort of the resilience and also the execution and sort of maturity of the team.
Coach, you kind of have a three-headed monster up top with Haley Turney, Brooke Shahady, and Emily Lehman, and they've done a great job of finding each other on attacking possessions. But how can you get them even more involved here as you go forward in conference play?
Well, that's the trick, isn't it? If I could if I had a key, I would put it in. I would put it in the door and unlock it. Yeah. I think confidence comes from repetition and from success, and we're training the right kinds of things, and I think it's all about the level of the competition. We're not playing teams with losing records. We're not playing teams that are going to make things easy for us, and I think that. As we kind of wear through this season, we're getting through we're approaching a spell where we have some really meaningful conference games, and I think that they'll be prepared. Again, the striker mentality is so unique because you're going to miss the frame 8 times, and then the 9th time, you're going to be the hero of the game. But if you don't get that 9th opportunity and focus for that 9th opportunity, you're not going to be the hero of the game. So I think that what we're doing is fighting through some of those bad reps and some of those difficult opponents, and hoping that we'll have some reward here as we progress through the season.
This week you have 2 CAC matches. First, a midweek match against Mary Washington. What should we expect to see in that matchup?
Well, now this is a very fun time of the year. This is actually the most exciting couple weeks of our entire season because now – we played 2 of the better teams in our conference. We split the games. Now we're playing the meat of the schedule against the teams that are in the same position we're in, fighting for placement in the standings and in the conference bracket for the tournament. So the rubber meets the road, so to speak. These will be great games. They're teams like us. They're teams in our situation. I think we match up really well with these teams. We're going to have the ball plenty and be able to do some creative things. We're going to be able to pressure teams into making mistakes. So it should be a lot of fun. I think we'll know really. We'll have a great idea when we talk in 1 week here after Mary Washington St. Mary's. How we're looking to be in the top half of the bracket. So this is a massive week for us against relatively similar teams that are in our situation, and it should be fun.
Later in the week, you take on St. Mary's, as you said. What do you want to see from your team in that home match?
Well, we'd like to score more goals than our opponent.
That's always good.
I'm not sure we won a home game, for God's sake. It would be nice to put on a little show for the families. It's senior day, Obviously you always want to have a little bit more energy, a little bit more oomph and sort of intensity to your team when you're defending the home turf, so to speak. But frankly, that shouldn't matter too much. I think, we just want to put up a good performance and just get better every week, get better every day, get better every performance. We'd like to we have good scouting for our opponents now with all the video floating around. So, we have an idea what to expect. We think we're going to match up well, and we're just going to ask our players to rise to the occasion. So if we put out a good performance and have a good level of energy and quality, then we should get some results. And like I said, it should be a fun week to see where we are.
Coach, good luck this week.
Thanks.